So I will be doing range factor, and my name is Madison Summerfield. So the range factor formula that we are going to be looking at is range factor equals putouts plus assists over games played. So there are two different ways that you can look at range factor. There's for a season or for a single game. And so the formula that I read at the beginning is the one that extends across an entire season. If you were going to be looking at a single game, then instead of games played, you would actually take the innings that that player played in. So it would be how many out of the 9 innings did that player play in. Is range factor good or bad? It can really go both ways. The more balls that are hit to you would be a higher range factor. If you're doing more fielding and you are also a player who plays in a good amount of games, then you will most likely have a higher range factor because you're touching and seeing the ball more. If you're out in the outfield, it is unusual for you to have a low range factor. Individuals who are in contact with making outs a lot of the time should tend to have a higher range factor. So that would be like a first baseman or a catcher. A quote from MLB.com is a great range factor for a shortstop would be an embarrassment for a first baseman who has many more total chances during a typical game. So first, I will mention that when it comes to range factor, it's really different for every single player. So finding the best individual in baseball with the best range factor is like not impossible, but it's kind of hard because every single position has like one of the best or like the best numbers just because of how like the ball gets spread around. And so for shortstops, I found Bill Allman, and he plays shortstop, third baseman, and left fielder, and his range factor was 5.270. And then another position I just found one for was first base, and Ron Jackson holds that one. And he did first base, third base, and he was a left fielder. And so his range factor was 10.543. So even between these two, you can see it was a big difference. What is range factor replacing? So range factor is similar to fielding percentage. Range factor is said to add a defensive element to the game of baseball, whereas fielding percentage is a statistic that considers the chance of a player making an error. Good features and drawbacks. So range factor answers a pivotal question that went long unanswered when fielding percentage was used as a primary evaluative defensive metric. And so this would be like more of a good feature is range factor helps you see how many plays can a given fielder make, or put more simply, how much range does that fielder have? And so some of the drawbacks could also be because range factor looks so much at your position, circumstances for players vary so greatly that it could be seen as a drawback. So if your score is really low, there's so many other things that you have to take into consideration when looking at that player's range factor. What are the benefits and what are the hurt? So just one example that I found on the web was Edgar Renteria of the Cardinals was the National League's Golden Glove winner at shortstop. So that's a really prestigious award. But Houston's Adam Everett topped the list across the majors at this position in range factor. So kind of one of the drawbacks or one of the hurts in a way would just be this example right here. This just goes to show that range factor is just one of many statistics that is taken into consideration when ranking players. So even though it is like a really good statistic to look at, just because you top the list for your position within the MLB does not mean that it will get you exactly where your goals may be. But the benefits that can be seen are from recognition of players who score highly in the range factor category because it's such a popular statistic that is used nowadays, it doesn't go unnoticed. And then today, one of the best catchers this 2021 season has been Victor Caratini, and he lists a range factor score of 12.26, which is really awesome. But we also have to take into consideration, just tying in some things from earlier, that he sees this high score due to his out and assist opportunities compared to other positions. You also have to keep in mind the amount of games this player is playing in comparison to other catchers. Because he is a catcher and other positions. Thank you for watching.